Hey, welcome to Strength Side. We're going to talk about internal rotation and some techniques that you can use to restore internal rotation into your hips. Now, we see the problem with people kind of missing or lacking internal rotation range of motion a lot with clients and athletes that we have. And a lot of what we see is that people are kind of stuck in external rotation. And you can start to notice this if you watch people. You might see people walking around with their feet out. This is really just, everything's kind of stuck into this external rotation pattern. And now when you're lacking this internal rotation of the hip, which looks more like this, right? When you're lacking this, what's going to happen is it's going to limit your hip flexion, okay? Now when we go to do an exercise, something like the squat, right? If we're stuck in this external rotation, then as we lower down into hip flexion, something's going to have to compensate here, and that's usually going to be the pelvis and the spine, and that's when you get this tuck under at the bottom and like we like to call the butt wink, okay? So restoring your internal rotation will help you be able to squat deeper. It'll also help you be able to just do athletic performance better, right? Running, jumping, all those good things. So we're gonna go over a couple drills here. We're gonna have Trevor get on the wall here into our 90-90 position, all right? Now, the reason that we're getting him into this 90-90 position is because it's a very, very low complexity position, and he can prioritize getting himself braced here. Now, what we're gonna show you is what his internal rotation looks like with a braced core. So Trevor's gonna get his ribs down, and then he's gonna move into internal rotation here, okay? So you see he has pretty good internal rotation in this hip. Now he's gonna let his ribs flare, and now we're gonna do that same motion, and you see he's blocked. He's probably missing 15 to 20 degrees of what he did have, okay? So prioritizing a braced torso and neutral spine is going to be very, very important for restoring this internal rotation, okay? So what we're going to have Trevor do is he's actually just going to bias internal rotation here by moving his feet out, and rather than just moving his feet out and letting his knees sprawl out, we're going to use a foam roller here so he keeps some tension on this foam roller, okay? And now we're in a lot of internal rotation here, okay? So from here, all we're gonna do, we're gonna focus on breathing, right? Very, very easy, low intensity exercise that we're doing here, but we're basically trying to reset the body to be comfortable with this range of motion, with this pelvis position, okay? Now, what Trevor can also do, as you can see, he's walking his feet out a little bit farther, trying to add more and more, just to where he's comfortable. We don't want to feel impingement, right? We want to get to a spot that might be the limit and sit there, get comfortable, see if we can move a little bit farther, okay? Now the other thing Trevor can do when he's in this position, come back a little bit with the feet, is we can do our hip lift, okay? So now he's just going to bring the hips up off the ground, maybe 3 inches, 4 inches. And from here, now we're just forcing more of these hamstrings to turn on. We're forcing more ab contraction in this position, okay? So hang out here. The other thing that we can do is Trevor can get back into his regular 90-90. And from here, he can just do what we were showing in the beginning of the video to actually look at how much range of motion he has, is he can just sit here and internally rotate at the hip, right? Come back to neutral, internally rotate. This is really helpful, especially if you have a hip that you know, hey, my right hip really lacks internal rotation. I want to work on that. This is what we can do, okay? So, one more way to work on this, we're gonna have Trevor flip up into our quadruped position. Okay, so now, pretty much the same concept here, right? We're gonna get Trevor, we're probably gonna bias a little bit of flexion here because we know that if he can posterior tilt these hips a little bit, then he's gonna be able to get more internal rotation out of that hip. So from here, now all he's gonna do is he's gonna turn one foot out, and then he can bring that back. So now we're just working into that range of motion, that internal rotation range of motion, and we're coming out of it. Now be very careful here, because if you're just moving one foot at a time, one of these hips is gonna have the tendency to kind of, yeah, like you see, he gets this big tilt here, right? So he's being very careful to keep these even. And what you can do is you can do both at the same time, which Trevor will show here. Boom. And this way you're probably not going to get a big hip shift. So this is definitely a good way just to keep restoring this, right? And Trevor, why don't you go ahead and buy us some extension here and show how much internal rotation that you lose. Go ahead and, so he's probably 20 degrees less internal rotation here. So always think rib cage down, posterior tilt, and we'll move through that range of motion. All right, guys, hope this helps out. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll see you in the next video.